I guess we can just start. I've already started recording, and usually I just sort of smooth these in. I just wanted to start and sort of get an idea of initially what attracted you to Tesla. Why did you join the company? Maybe give us a little bit of background of sort of what, where you went to school or what your background is from a technical standpoint, and then we can let the information or the conversation flow from there.
Sure. Where I went to school, hardly relevant. Actually, a couple of people at Tesla ended up were at the same school, UW Stout in Wisconsin.
Okay.
I'm from Midwest, so that's where it was.
Badger fan?
What's that?
Are you a Badgers fan? No? Okay.
No.
I went to Penn State, so that's why I asked. Okay.
I ended up living in Wisconsin longer than I wanted to, and man, literally the front page of the paper. I lived in Green Bay for a while.
Oh, okay.
And like front page of the paper one day, it was like Clay Matthews worked out today.
Really? Are you serious?
Yeah, that's like all they had going on there.
Yikes! They love their Packers there, man. They really do.
Oh yeah. Yep, they really do. I got a little too much Packers.
And then, so what? You weren't born in Wisconsin. Were you born? Where were you? Where'd you grow
Minnesota.
up? Minnesota. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. All right.
So how I ended up at Tesla was a little unusual. Our company was acquired. I don't know if you can look this up if you want. It's all out there. Actually, it's still an active Tesla webpage. If you go there, a company called Perbix got acquired back in November 2017.
Okay.
I was working there. Had been working there for a couple of years at that point. Tesla was a client of ours at the time. We did a couple of machines for them, some equipment. And they liked us or something, or our stuff was good, and they just bought us.
Okay. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a dream come true. Like I've been interested in cars for a long time, and especially EVs. In fact, just recently I was visiting the hometown, and something jogged in my memory. I was like, oh man, I remember sitting in that room, and I applied for a Tesla internship in 2007.
Wow.
10 years later, I was working for the company. It was kind of crazy.
Wow.
So yeah, it was for me, it was like a dream come true.
Okay. So the company was called Privix, you said? The one that got purchased? Privix. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of machines did you guys build?
At the time, it was a wide variety. We had all kinds of clients, anything from medical device to food and drink to Tesla to filters for companies, machines that make those things.
Gotcha. So is it fair to say it was sort of the machines that make the machines, or were they like machines that were making
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
That's interesting. So that what's really interesting about that story, so far, is that you were at a company that was previously Tesla was the client, and then Tesla became the company in essence, right? Because they purchased the company. But so what was the first thing that really jumped out to you from that was different once Tesla took over? How did the culture change? Was that something? Did something change there from that perspective that you noticed? I'm curious to hear about that.
Yeah, so we were lucky. We had a good group of people. So it was over 100 people, of which maybe 30% were engineers of various types. And it was always kind of a close-knit group of people. They were pretty selective in who they hired and looked for people who would get along in the group. And then that just got even closer as things started to progress at Tesla. So the first thing was, okay, stop all the projects for other clients, line those up and get them out the door and finish those up as fast as you can. And we were acquired early November, and by the end of December, I was, full-time on Tesla projects. But that was right when production on Model 3 was starting. And that's right when production hell, as it's called, was really hitting the fan. And so people just got sent out there. I had a meeting with my supervisor, and I was like, what would it take for you to relocate to Nevada for in unspecified amount of time.
Yeah.
And at the time I had a younger kid, and I was like, my manager was like, just be honest, like, what would it take? Nothing's off the table here. And I was like, I would need like a live-in nanny to help my wife. My wife's, works too. She's a professor. She teaches. She can't miss her work. She can't work from home or anything like that. Luckily, a lot of other people have lesser requirements, and we're able to go out there. A large population of the people ended up living out there for quite a while. Kind of split up between Reno and California.
Okay. How big was the company?
The company before we got by?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've stayed about anywhere from 100 to 150 people.
Okay.
But that's not just engineers. That's all types. There's assemblers, machinists, welders, all kinds of things.
Okay. What do you feel comfortable sharing exactly what type of machinery you guys built for Tesla?
It was all of it. Anything that was not, so when we got acquired, obviously we had only provided a few things. An assembly line for a drive unit, or something to move parts in the factory, wash parts that needed washing with a robot or something like that. And in those initial 6 months to a year, primarily what we were doing was fixing stuff that wasn't running well, getting it to run better, getting it to run faster. I don't know if you remember, but the production ramp, I mean, there was all kinds of people just tracking like how many cars we were making. We were doing everything we could to increase that, and working on existing equipment and making it better, or just tearing it out and replacing it with something better.
Okay. Okay. And did you end up? Sorry.
I know, sorry. You asked specifically.
It's all good.
I can't be specific because it was every part of the car. It was primarily Model 3 related at that time.
Okay. But it was literally, it could be it could go from a machine that helped with the drive unit, like you said, to moving parts around. It goes down to it could potentially be body in white, trim, whatever. I mean, it's a bunch of different stuff.
Battery cells, battery modules, battery packs.
Wow.
Motors, bumpers, doors, the car.
Wow.
Seats, dashboards, all of it.
Dang. Were you surprised by, I guess, what was the sense of urgency like when you were going through there? Because I know, like, for me, I'll tell you a little bit of story about me, like when I was at Tesla during that time, because I think our timelines are very close to each other, because you were November 2017 through December 21, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. And I was July 2017 through September 2021, but I was on the service side. And the thing that really jumped out to me was how much attention we weren't getting. Like, all the attention was like manufacturing Model 3, especially for like the first, say, from 2017 to 2019, we were basically, for better or for worse, on an island. Like, we were just, figure it out. Listen, sorry, we have to figure out this Model 3 thing. Y'all got to go figure it out, the service stuff. So, and the one thing I'm really curious, it's you being so close to the piece of trying to. No problem. Go ahead.
I got a cat that snuck in here.
It's all good. Here, kitty. We'll edit this out. It's all good. Or maybe we'll keep it in for fun. Who knows? That's awesome. But like, really, the thing that really I was thinking about during that time is like, man, like, we in service are barely getting any attention. We really are. And so. And I remember Tesla was internally asking for people to see if they were interested in helping out the Model 3 ramp. These were emails that were shared, and I know a lot of these became public because everything freaking becomes public when Elon sort of emails something out. What was that sense of urgency like during that ramp? Like, what are some stories that you feel comfortable sharing around the sense of urgency and sort of the stuff that you saw that you were like, holy crap, I can't believe what I'm seeing, or wow, this is really standing out to me. I'm curious to hear about those stories.
Sure. I got a good one that is non-specific. It was a purchaser that so I'd get a quote for a part or something and from a vendor, and or this purchaser would, and it's a favorite line of mine. He was meeting on the phone with a purchaser, and he's like, yeah, the purchaser asked for a part, and the person's like, okay, yeah, we'll get back to you in like 24 to 48. And the purchaser says, hours or minutes?
Wow. Wow.
It was like that. It was as high pressure as it gets. It was get it done, do whatever you can, move mountains if you have to, like get it done. And which was kind of great from an engineering point of view. It was do whatever you know is right, whatever you know is robust, make it work. And you know what, whatever it costs, get it done. And that was kind of fun from a designer's perspective. So.
Yeah. Did you feel like you were pulling, like how many hours were you pulling? Because I remember when I was there, like during that ramp, it was 80 hours easy during the week,
sure.
like 80 hours easy.
So,
I'm curious about your,
Right. So I stayed back in Minnesota most of the time, just because of my family life at the time.
Yeah.
I know that the people that were out there, like, 70-hour weeks were not anything to write home about. Like once you got over 100, it was something to talk about.
Sure.
Like I remember one guy worked for like, he worked longer than he should have. And then like the sun came up and he went up on the roof of the Gigafactory and like had a breakfast burrito up there.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was at the same time that Elon was like camping up there.
Yeah. They had fires up there.
Yeah. He was having campfires up there. Like, yeah. I saw the houseplants and like the remnants of the fire. I was like, no way. I just read about that.
Oh my God.
So,
wow.
So me personally, like, I know I went and looked, and like when I was on site, like I had weeks that were over 70 hours, but I know I wasn't recording everything. It was just like, here's something close, like at the time it wasn't super important. You did want to keep track of hours so that you knew someday when you were doing a future project that was similar, you would know about how much time it would take to do something like that.
Mm-hmm. How would you compare the sort of, if you're thinking about the engineering challenges that you face when, say, in the thick of the ramp when Tesla purchased the company, and then compare that to sort of the engineering challenges you had before Tesla, either at that company or other jobs where you were working on some engineering challenges? How would you rate? So I'm really curious to understand, like how difficult were these challenges as compared to other challenges you've had that were not Tesla, and sort of the amount of freedom you had to figure out the solution. Can you talk me through that?
Sure. More often than not, especially for that first 6 months to a year, all the freedom you wanted as long as you knew it would work. The challenges are definitely difficult, but mostly because of the time constraints. In the particular area I was in, we weren't solving like new technology. There's definitely parts in Tesla where that is happening, where they're doing very challenging engineering tasks, and so were ours. But mostly because it was like, hey, we need to, have this machine running at 2,500 cars a week tomorrow, and it's currently not doing that. And what can you do in that amount of time that will fix that? So a lot of it was time-based challenges.
Okay, so it was basically, because it's interesting you say that, because when I think about the challenges that we had to solve on the service side, I would say a lot of that was like there were definitely low-hanging fruit everywhere. Like that's the way I describe it, where the solutions to get us to 50% faster, or 100 times or 100% faster, or 3x throughput in some areas were like low-hanging fruit. Like it wouldn't be that difficult to do from an effort perspective, but like if we had 2 weeks to do it, But then it's like,
Yeah.
yesterday, please, because literally we're flooding the market with these damn cars. So I can totally relate to that.
For like an example, I went to install, it was the first machine that personally I designed from like a clean sheet that we were installing. And we get there, we get there to install it. Everything was shipped ahead of time. And it's like, oh, wait, let's put the brakes on this. We're going to totally reconfigure this line. We don't know what we're going to do yet, but let's not install this. And then I was like, I called up a friend. I was like, hey, let's hang out. Hanging out at his apartment that he had. And like I said, a lot of people had moved out there. And I get the call at like 10 o'clock at night. Hey, okay, we're back on again. Be here by 6 a.m. Develop a plan to have an engineer on site for install at all times. So I was one of 3 engineers. So we had to have like a rotating 10-hour shift. And we had to get it done in like 48 to 36 hours or something like that. Install this thing that was like the size of a double-decker bus. Meanwhile, the line reconfiguring is happening all around us. They're cutting stuff down from the ceiling. They're tearing out pieces of equipment, and anything that wasn't working, they were just getting rid of. And to get the line to run better, be more streamlined, and working in that environment when you're trying to install something new was a challenge. And
how unusual is that dynamic? Is that unusual in the engineering world?
Oh yeah. From what I've heard since now working in automotive, I've met a couple of other people that worked in other, not directly for other manufacturers, but vendors that would supply equipment. That's not super unusual because you usually have to install something in a downtime, which usually revolves around a holiday. So you got to get the equipment in while the line operators aren't there anyway. So you usually have a very tight deadline. As far as other stuff being torn out, yeah, usually your piece of equipment is going in and it's not the only thing there. Usually they're making room for it. That's not to say like later on, as things progress, like we were designing clean sheet stuff that was installing, empty factory and stuff like that. So that's a lot easier. But I would say it's probably not that unusual in the automotive world.
Okay. Got it. That helps. How would you rate, maybe rate's the wrong word. Like think about like the people that you're surrounded by when you were solving these solutions, either the ones that were at the company that was purchased or the folks that were at Tesla from the beginning. How would you describe the workforce? Like what are some adjectives you can use to describe the workforce that you directly work with?
This is something you notice when you're not at Tesla. I bet you've noticed.
Yeah. Let me hear it.
You go outside in the regular world and you're just like, come on, let's get something done here.
Yeah.
Extremely competent. Nearly everyone. I can't think of, if they weren't competent, they weren't around long. So just, not necessarily the smartest people in the world. Like you didn't have to be working with a genius. You just had to be working with someone that knew what they were doing and knew how to get it done. Which I guess is, something to be said for that. You got to be pretty smart to get stuff done.
Yeah. But I think what you say there though is like one thing that really stood out to me too, because I feel like sometimes what I saw was that sometimes people were too smart for their own good. You know what I'm saying? Like they would be like, oh no, we have to do it this way. This is so much better, blah, blah, blah. But it's like a mess to get it put in place. And it's usually way more complex than it needs to be. Whereas the person that you described that quote unquote is not a genius, but like understands the simplicity that's required to get something done makes them a genius, because it's like that sort of, it's hard to describe, I saw that all the freaking time, like people that were traditionally thought of as like, because I worked with a lot of material handlers. I work with a lot of like people that would be typically in the warehouse world, right? That would move product around, and for some reason, society doesn't view them as like like they have a lot of mental capabilities, whatever the hell you want to call it. Like people like they're just a warehouse worker. No, the hell they're not. These people are so much smarter than you think when it comes to problem solving, and that's the one thing that really stood out to me while I was working there was like the amount of problem solvers in that company is bananas. And I don't know why Tesla, like I'm still trying to figure out like what is that essence, because this is not a degree. This is not a master's degree. This isn't like an education thing that you went to school and have a piece of paper. These people are just naturally extremely good at solving problems. And I'm trying to figure out, is it a Tesla thing that everyone just somehow becomes a problem solver when they're surrounded in that culture? Or are these people natively problem solvers and Tesla just has a way of identifying these people and bringing them on board? I don't know. Like, does that resonate with you at all? Because like I'm still thinking about that to this day.
Yeah, definitely resonates with me. I already forgot his name, that other engineer you had interviewed.
Charles,
yeah. He touched
shout out
on
Charlie.
It too, like, Charlie. Oh yeah, you had a little
shout out.
Yeah. You're given the opportunity to sort of prove yourself. And if you don't, those people just kind of bubble up and they end up being successful. And those are the people that stick around. When we were acquired there, I remember one person in particular was just like, oh, this is a nightmare. Like I was like, what are you talking about? And they're like, oh, now we're going to have to travel all the time. And I don't want to do that. So there was people that like just didn't fit at Tesla and they left, or there was a couple of rounds of layoffs back then. Those were the people that got cut. But as far as like the people that were at the factory that sort of chose that career, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what makes them special either. I wish it did.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's almost like I wonder if like the mission of the company being so profound, like let's move humanity forward by really advancing the advent of sustainable energy and having somebody like an Elon that is so that walks the walk. Like he doesn't just talk it, he walks it as well. I wonder if that is part of the reason why maybe you or I or other people that were able to have a successful career at Tesla are the way they are, because for some reason that resonates with us either subconsciously or directly. And then that really inspires the workers there to just freaking bust their asses as much as they can, I
would agree with that.
Yeah.
For me, that was part of it. Like I knew the mission statement of the company was very important to me, and it's just this work matters. I'm going to put my all into this for as long as I can. Okay. Turns out that was about 4 years.
Yeah, right. What made you move on from Tesla? What was the decision behind that?
Sure, it wasn't just one thing. There's parts of it I probably can't talk about.
Sure.
But a large part of it was home life. My wife is pursuing a 10-year track position. And when you're working at Tesla, she would never admit it, but I know I got like an unfair amount of attention, or resources, time, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at it like, okay, it's her time now for a little bit. Like she got a good opportunity in her career and I need to support her for that. So that was a large part of it. Working crazy hours all the time or the drop of a hat, being called out to the factory 4 states away. I got 3 kids, it was hard to do that. And then, so there was just a management change at our facility that I didn't care for, and just made all that stuff worse. Mm-hmm. So that's
okay. No, good for you, man. I mean, that's a amazing reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the way you put it, where, your significant other has in a way sacrificed a lot to ensure that you sort of had the time and the opportunities to really pursue that career, right? That resonates a lot with me because I can't tell you how patient my wife was while I was at Tesla. Like I remember the first year. Dude, she was half jokingly, but I think she really wanted to do this. She wanted to make like a wives of Tesla workers like group, so that all the wives can like get together and like vent about how, or like significant others group, where all the significant others can get together and just sort of complain and share stories about how Tesla's keeping us away from our home duties, dude. It's like. I
think she would have found a lot of success with that.
I think so too, man. I think so. And that's the one thing I always think about too, is like, I feel like, like I don't regret 1 second of my time spent at Tesla ever. I mean, for me, to be completely honest, like I was extremely lucky in some respects because even though the first, say, 2 to 3 years were ridiculously challenging, the last year that I was there, we got it to a point where it wasn't 80-hour weeks every freaking week. It was way more balanced, It was still challenging and you were brain dead every time you were coming home for dinner, but at least you're coming home for dinner. You know what I'm saying? That was the thing that changed.
Yeah. Similar happened. Once we moved on to, out of production hell, the place is no longer on fire. You're not fighting battles every day.
Yeah.
We were designing new stuff, new lines to be put in. And that kind of work was much more sustainable. Yeah.
You went from reactive to proactive, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was I do want to talk to you about your, so you were in Pennsylvania, you went to Austin.
Yeah.
Your role changed pretty.
It did.
Yeah, it changed a lot.
Yeah, it did. I can talk about that for sure. Yeah. So I mean, I'll go
because Austin's the one that I haven't been to.
Okay.
I have equipment there that I know that I designed. Like I saw it on the internet the other day.
Okay. So if I go in the factory, if I look for your, did you sign it? I should look for your film. You should have signed it. Was it the Mega Press? Come on.
No, it wasn't the Giga Press. No. Far more mundane. And I'm super jealous that you got to go to the Cyber Rodeo, man.
Yeah, man.
Like, and what I really loved, it's kind of weird, but like all the shots of all the people that had of the equipment, like that's me. Like that's
so amazing.
What I do, and I was just like intensely watching that stuff.
Dude, let me ask you this: how does that? So let me explain to you what the Cyber Rodeo was in an essence. And I talked about this in one of my videos. It's like I've never seen before such a large collection of people that were there to celebrate engineering and machinery. Like, how does that make you feel?
Weird. Like we're awkward, socially awkward engineers, right?
Sure.
Like we're used to hiding away in our cubicles, but it's also kind of awesome. Like, because the stuff that we design and make is what makes everything possible. Like there's definitely, we're not the only thing that makes the company possible, but it's weird to have that celebrated. It's unusual. But I love it. It's like, I watch Monroe live all the time and like look at the stuff that he's talking about. Sometimes he's holding parts that I'm like, oh yeah, I made the machine that puts that on there.
Yeah.
And that's just an awesome feeling. Like, do you think I got that before working at Tesla? Like, who cares about this little wine dispenser valve I was making? Like,
yeah. Do you wish it? Do you hope that it becomes a bigger thing? Like, how do you think about that? Like, do you hope it becomes more recognized, or do you think that Tesla is legitimately a force to make this more widely known, where the population actually admires and really respects the things that make things? Like that's one thing I'm noticing. What do you think?
Yes. That's a loaded question. From my perspective, I see a lot more reshoring of manufacturing jobs, especially with COVID and supply chain.
Reshoring
issues.
meaning coming back to the States, right?
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be like it was, in the 50s where we made everything ourselves.
Yeah.
Or 60s, and rightfully it shouldn't be. But seeing a lot more of that, and those jobs like coming back, and like I feel like Tesla was like pioneering that, like the vertically integrated, trying to get all your resources from as close by. I mean, the more companies do that, the more Tesla proves that that's an incredibly successful business model. The more companies start to do that, the more manufacturing jobs are going to be available. And I'm all for it.
Yeah. Do you see, because I agree with you, because I think that's a much bigger deal than people think. I think we always talk about, I mean, you and I probably think the same here, but like Elon Musk is truly like a really big deal. He's a big deal. And that's one of those.
Did you ever meet him?
I've never met him. I emailed him a few times. I emailed him. I had some advice around like full self-driving and how we can label faster. I'm saying we, like I still work there. How they can
I do that all the time.
Yeah, dude, I'm still weeing with Tesla. I mean, I'm technically an investor. I'm a we.
Meeting at your current employer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's okay. I mean, whatever. It's I remember when I left my company before Tesla too, I would always reference the name is Phillips, and I would like reference we all the time in context of Phillips. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, we don't stop thinking about pet food, bro. What's your problem? Like they would tease me so bad. And now I'm like weeing on Tesla all the time. Although I can justify because I am an investor. So technically I own a part of it. You know what I'm saying? But that's always, that's been a fascinating dynamic, just sort of seeing the different outlets and how they're viewing, more and more how Elon Musk is becoming a true force to, like you said, reshore manufacturing back to the States. And he's becoming sort of a shining example of what that looks like. And, I know Americans are very nationalistic. I've been a citizen since 2000 and, oh my God, at least 10 years. I can't even remember when I got my freaking citizenship. It's been a while. But that's one thing that I've really been connecting more and more once, when I learn more about the different dynamics on Earth. Not that making stuff overseas is a bad thing. It's a good thing. I mean, it does help everybody eventually. But at the same time, you don't want to freaking export everything. You don't want to like offshore everything. You need to make stuff. Right. You have to make stuff, And the Elon force of sort of making not just America, but each country in a way, its own manufacturing force is super fascinating. And the dynamic of that, I think, sort of really helps Tesla as well, because it's not so much, it's definitely an American company, but when you think about the Shanghai factory, it's really a Chinese factory. When you think about Berlin, it's a German factory, That's a really interesting dynamic, but America also benefits because guess what? Now we're making it too. Now we're making this stuff as well. And I'm curious to see how much bigger it gets.
Yeah, it's a very interesting strategy. It's way above my pay grade, but
both of us.
I'm observing it and like, wow, this is great. Like, yeah, you definitely need international trade. It helps everybody stay friendly. But yeah, like, the Shanghai factory, like they're going to be making batteries there, and they're going to be getting the sort of materials for there in China, and we're going to be making batteries here, and we're going to be getting the materials for that here, and the steel, the aluminum, just everything. And in Berlin, they're just doing the same thing, and they're doing it in each country. And one company is uniting it all, but they're not as interdependent anymore. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
See how it all plays out.
Yeah. What do you think is Tesla's biggest advantage?
The people. The people, and like people want to work there because they know that it's making a difference. They know that it's important to climate change, to sustainability, to all kinds of things. It's important, and you get a job somewhere else and you don't feel like it's as important.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I remember I was on, I don't know if you follow Dave Lee on investing. He's like a YouTube channel that does
he's one of the few that I gotta, there's so many.
Yeah, there are.
I'll watch Jordan Kisigi. I'll watch Monroe Live. I'll watch your channel.
Thank you.
What's another one? There's a lot.
There's a lot of good ones out there. There
Tesla
really
Daily,
are. Maurer. Yeah, Rob Maurer.
There's a lot. He's one that I haven't caught.
Okay. Yeah. He really talks about the investing side of Tesla quite a bit, but then he's also he's somebody that really, he's been invested in it since 2012, and he was one of the very first retail investors that really outlined the true potential of Tesla when it comes to its manufacturing capabilities. And he was one of the main reasons why I even got interested in Tesla in the first place, because that got me to invest in Tesla back in 2012. Then I became obsessed. Then I got a chance to work at the company, and now it's like, it's this crazy thing now. But when he fortunate enough that he had me on his channel and he interviewed me to sort of get my thoughts about having been there and sort of what my thoughts are of being an employee, having been an employee. And I gave him the same exact answer when he asked me that question. I was curious to see what your answer was going to be. It's the people. And it's very hard to, I think, it's very hard to understand unless you're there, I think, because anybody could say that. And, we have the most talented workforce. Every freaking company on planet Earth will come out and say we have the most talented people. Because if they don't say that, the people are going to be like, well, what the hell? Like, come on now. Like, why am I working here, right? Every company has to say that. But I truly believe Tesla has a very unique advantage in that because of the mission, because of the leader, and because of the problems that you get to solve. That was another thing that really stood out to me, is like the amount of lessons I've gained personally by just being surrounded by people that also wanted to solve those problems that seemed so freaking impossible at that time. And then we overcome them is something that I'll take with me forever. Like some of those lessons that you gain, not even about the technical aspect of solving something, but like the human spirit almost. I don't even know if I'm sounding way too like woo weirdo kind of guy, but like that to me was my biggest takeaway, and I've heard, the other thing I noticed too is that a lot of Tesla employs a lot of ex-military. I don't know if you saw that from your end, but like there was a ton.
Oh, those are some of the best
dude,
folks.
They really were.
I mean, we had some at Perbix, but the way they the way they operated once we became Tesla was like very valuable.
Yeah.
And some of the best. Yeah.
Yeah. And like there's, I wasn't ex-military. I don't know if you were, but I wasn't in the military.
No, I'm not.
Okay. And, but like the one thing I kept like, one of the things I noticed is like, a lot of these ex-military folks seem to just be very comfortable in that
with the
arena. Yeah, dude.
Super comfortable. Well, I mean, like one guy was like, all right, I don't know if I can talk too much about what these couple of folks did,
okay.
but they're in very high pressure environments.
Okay.
And Tesla's like, well, okay, my life's not in danger, so this is fine.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it was such a fascinating thing to see. And I gained a lot of inspiration from that because, it was just so interesting to watch. And the thing that stood out to me is like, okay, so like how analogous is working at Tesla? Of course, there is nothing in common from being on a battlefield or trying to go to war with a country or trying to save people's lives and working at a car manufacturer. I'm not trying to draw a parallel though in that sense in any way. So if anybody's listening to this, please don't take this like as if I'm trying to draw a parallel. But I think there is something to be said about being faced with what feel like existential sort of challenges that are impacting what you're working on, and then coming together to figure out how to solve those problems, and then you solve them, and then you share that moment together. That to me was the big thing that stood out to me working there, and the people that were ex-military seemed very comfortable in that situation, and they're like, okay, cool, what's next? All right, cool, what's the next thing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
what's the next? Yeah. Like,
what's the next existential problem?
Definitely.
Man.
There's something to that. For sure.
Yeah.
I want to circle back to something you had said about something about the people and like the problems you're working on. And there is a flip side to that I don't know if you saw, but like newer people are so eager to make their mark, right?
Yes.
And it sometimes to the point of detriment.
Yep.
And and you can't blame them,
Yeah.
Because it is important, and but like choose your moment, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
I definitely saw that when I was there. Like I probably even did it.
Yeah.
I was like, I was super eager to get something done. And
I did it multiple times. Yeah, dude. I saw that so many times. I think what's really interesting about that dynamic, I was fortunate enough. Were you a people leader at all? Were you more like focused on like contributing? Like what was your role specifically?
Contributing for probably the first half, and then the second half, I definitely had some leadership of just a couple of other engineers at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely had opportunities to do that. And then like on installs, I'd help lead like the install, like organize who's going to be there when.
Yeah.
And make sure it gets installed correctly and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So not a ton of leadership, but some.
Okay. So tell me if you agree with this then, because I would much rather have an environment where that sort of over eagerness happens. Like, so if there's 10 new people that come in and 9 of them are over eager to their detriment and they start breaking crap, but then that last 10th person is like just, you know how sometimes you have a person and they're just 10x, like I don't know what it is, but they're just 10x ability, 10x problem solving, 10x whatever, where even if 9 people come in and break everything because of overeagerness, that 10th person is going to come in and actually give you a net benefit because of how good they are, because you enabled that environment. Okay.
Sure.
And we try to do that at our facility because Tesla had this unique ability of just attracting this ridiculous talent, that if we created that environment, you would really allow that 10th person or the 9th, whatever the math is, the 9th person to just blossom into this beast. We would call them beasts. Like these are just beasts. Like what the hell?
Sure.
Like to this day, I remember, I'm going to give a shout out to many folks that I work with, but this one specific, the interns that we've hired at our facility, like all of them, beasts, freaking beasts, And did you see, like, how do you think about that? Do you agree with that statement? Like, do you think that is a net positive when you deal with it? Because I feel like a lot of companies are afraid to do that. A lot of companies are like, step 1, 2, 3, don't get out of line. Sure. You don't want to get noticed. You don't want to do too much. And Tesla, I feel like, was the opposite. Like, what do you think?
Yeah. I just wanted to caution a little bit on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like say, it's the worst thing ever.
Not at all.
I fully agree with you. It's definitely a net gain. And more than a net gain. It's super beneficial. I mean, we had a couple of interns as well that were just like, wow, like this person, it turns out when you're a college student and this can be your life, like you can just kill it, and the responsibility that those people get right off the bat, you don't see that elsewhere.
Yeah.
In fact, like one person, I was mentoring them when they came on board. I was designing a machine. It was already being assembled when they got hired. So that person got to kind of get on the project from that point forward. And installs were weird. Like they never had a good date, a fixed date as to when it was going to happen. It was like, it's going to be like now-ish or then-ish. And I was like, great. Like now-ish is before this one conflict this 1 week long conflict in my schedule where I cannot be there.
Yeah.
And so is then-ish. But then it just kept narrowing in on that 1 week.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I can't go, guys. I can't do this. So this person who, is a recent college grad had to go install this machine, and they had to lead the install from a mechanical perspective. Now there was a project manager and there was a lead assembler, but I like had to prep this person like, okay, here's what you're doing. Here's the environment you're going to see. Like, good luck.
Yeah. Here's the fire.
Where else do you get that?
Dude.
And that person is now, they transferred down to Texas. They're going to be, helping out down there. And
hell
super valuable stuff. That was 2018 that happened. They're still here.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that says so much about how important it is to trust people to do the right thing, en masse, and then the people on the whole, you're going to get the benefit. You will, as a business, like if we're just talking purely about numbers, you will get the benefit. You will get the benefit. And so many companies are afraid to do that, mainly, in my opinion, because of either ego or politics. Like it's just for some reason, like I don't know. There's something that's either human nature or I have no idea what it is. Like people just get in the way. People get in the way. Whereas if you just create a blank sheet and you're like, okay, everybody do this, and then again, that 1 or 2 people out of 10 will come out of that fire and become ridiculously big contributors. The one fear I have for Tesla is as they get bigger, so they employ 110,000 people now, and fortunately I didn't see this in my org when I left. If anything, it probably got even better, to be honest, because it became more and more inclusive. It became more and more, how do I say this? We really try to broaden reach of that way of running a business even further outside of our organization. So we were even able to influence some pieces where we didn't have direct influence on, but we're like, dude, just run it our way. Like, it's just better. Run it our way, right? And it started to happen. But my one fear is that as Tesla grows from 110,000 people inevitably to 250,000 to 500,000 people, that for
extreme size, right?
Extreme size, exactly. Somehow that culture gets lost.
Oh yeah.
Do you think that is a
that. I've seen, some, it's tiny examples of it.
Yeah.
But I've seen it a little bit. Like now that it's not, save the company mode, there's some room for some egos to kind of worm their way in there.
Yeah.
I loved like the videos I saw at the rodeo, because it was like the exact opposite of that. It was you saw engineers just telling them about their equipment. You could see their eyes, just the way they were looking at their stuff. There was no ego there. But I've seen that, like, it was like, I was talking to some people in the California plant and they're like, oh, if you're having this problem, doing this one thing, we know this one engineer, he's super, super good at this. Just contact this one person. And I wanted to be like, yeah, that guy, he sits next. I helped hire that guy. like,
wow.
Don't tell me who to seek out for that.
Yeah. Wow.
But, part of that was just the California, that particular group of people hadn't worked with our group of people before, and they didn't know what we were capable of.
Yeah. Yeah. I found that too, like being away, so we were located in Pennsylvania. I think being away from what was HQ before, so California, was a blessing and a curse, but more a blessing, because any sort of like influences of that kind of behavior seeping in from there, we didn't see any of it. So we were sort of blessed to be on this island, because then we were just able to take the purest form of what Tesla wanted to do from a problem solving perspective and whatever, like the speed. And it was completely uninhibited by that force. And what was even better was that when we saw that sort of behavior try to influence us from the outside, which we saw a few times, like this again, and these are not bad people. This is just what happens, right? This is just human nature in a way. Like they would start trying to make decisions for us on our behalf, or things that were obviously without the company's best interest in mind, but instead an individual's best interest in mind. But because we were so almost set in our ways of like being anti-ego, anti-politics, that we call that shit out so fast that it just stopped that shit in its tracks. Or we were so loud about it that we got so annoying to so many people so quickly. People were like, just shut up. Like, come on, this is not a big... I'm like, dude, you don't understand. You have no idea. It's going to go from this to this to this. It's going to grow into this freaking virus that's going to take over this organization, and we can't let it happen. We just can't. And sometimes to the point where we're like, you know what? Fuck them. We're just going to do it our own way anyway. And then we almost go above them. We're like, you do this thing, and this cardinal like break that you do in business sometimes, like, you should never go behind someone's back. You should never. We're like, fuck that. Like, they're doing it wrong. This is the right way to do it, so we're gonna do it the right way. And then time and time again, we're proven right. Like, yeah, just focus on doing the right thing. Just focus on doing the right thing. That broke so many unspoken rules of business to me, that it was such an eye-opening experience. That don't, like, when you worry about egos and politics, you will not get stuff done the way it's supposed to get done. Just focus on the problem, and don't focus on hurting people's feelings, because those feelings that they have are not really rooted in the right thing. They're rooted in self-interest. They're rooted in wanting themselves to appear better. I don't know how often I saw this sometimes, and it did get better towards the end. What was hilarious is that it was at its peak worstness when I joined the company, when the Model 3 ramp was going, and it was a disaster at first, which is widely known. But I think it's because of that behavior that happened. Somehow that seeped in my opinion. I think what happened is Elon set incredibly aggressive goals. People that were there probably were not making the right decisions for the company. They just wanted some sort of stamp on their resume. And then, shit started not working. And Elon's like, what the fuck's going on? Like, I can't believe this is happening. And then everybody just had to sit down and figure it out. And then we figured it out. That's my theory of what happened. And like, that was like an example I think Elon had of, like, you don't let egos and politics get in the way. You have to empower everybody to do the best, and feelings be damned, just get it freaking done right. Obviously be respectful, treat your peers with respect, but don't worry so much about their feelings when you're making the decision. Just make the decision, make the right decision, and the best ideas will go to the top. I just went on a rant. I'm so sorry, dude. Wow.
No, I saw it. I saw a little bit at the beginning. I had a little bit of the kind of the inverse experience where it got worse towards the end. But there was present when we joined. Like, there was people in charge of areas of the plant, and they're like, okay, I know the best way to solve this, and I'm going to do it regardless of what Elon wants, essentially. That person wasn't around very long. Like, even though we were making equipment for him, and like, oh, that person's gone. Okay. Okay, that project's done.
Yeah. I wonder, like, how, it goes back to that question of, like, once they reach 500,000 people, like, I think they have to be very careful. And I hope, if anybody from Tesla listens to this, like, honestly, guys, the way that Tesla works best is when people are just focused about making the right thing for the company. Don't focus about yourselves. Focus about the company. It will actually be a net benefit for you in the end, because the amount of value you're going to create, that value on your resume, if you do the right thing, is going to be 1,000 times better than whatever value you think you have to create for yourself. Just focus on the big picture. Focus on the big picture is going to be helpful. And, again, I'm not saying this is like 50% of the companies like this. It's like maybe 5%, maybe even less, to be completely honest. But it's something that we have to make sure we prevent from, again, I'm talking like fucking talk. This is so dumb. What other company? Oh my God. I'm like over here talking.
Hey, you're a shareholder.
That's true.
Yeah.
You're welcome, shareholders. Yeah. I know we're approaching an hour here, and I definitely want to be respectful of your time here. So maybe for the last couple questions, what do you think? So what is the one lasting memory you have from your time at Tesla for those 4 years? Like, what is that lasting memory that's like, when you maybe on a daily basis or however often you think about Tesla, your time there is like, wow, like this either positive or negative. What's that lasting memory that you have?
So my last day there, I went out to lunch with a group of engineers, and I sort of asked the same question. One of them was like, "Well, what did you like most about working here?" And I said, "You guys, like, it's you, like, the quality of people, the camaraderie we all gained by going through that crazy experience out at production hell. Just the competency of working with competent people is so enjoyable. Not to say that other companies don't have that or anything, but I'm definitely, working with current people that are great too. And it's awesome. But that's what will probably just the craziness of Tesla, how fast everything was, and how you could always like go talk to your fellow, employees about it, and just how you could get help from them whenever you needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That's probably not a great answer.
No, it is actually. It is a great answer, because that help one is one that you just reminded me of, and like as soon as you said that, a flood of like 100 memories came back, where it's like literally I'm like in like backed against the wall with rocks being thrown my way. I'm standing on spikes, and there's like a freaking ceiling coming down on me that's about to crush me. And then like literally I could just go on Teams or Skype in 2017. Then we switched over to Teams. I remember that. People are like freaked. I don't know.
Oh, I miss Teams.
I miss Teams too. I know, dude. I don't know if you guys had this, but we had like a group of like, like a few of us on Teams that we talk to each other to like solve problems, but we try to communicate only with GIFs. I don't know if you ever had this.
Oh, yeah. We had GIF conversations. Oh, yeah.
Like literally we're like, okay, like let's try to communicate in GIFs only, and only use words if you're trying to be very specific, just because it was just such a cool little anyway. I'm like Teams, Microsoft, you guys did such a good job with Teams. It's so good.
Yeah.
I love Teams.
Yeah.
Teams was great. But like that help thing is so true, because that's the one thing I remember is like, it didn't matter how busy people were, or like how existential of things that were going on. Like if you really needed help, they would try their absolute best to help you. Like absolutely, they would set stuff aside and then would come help you, even if it's like a 5-minute thing.
That's where like ego plays a role. Like you cannot.
Yes.
You've said in the past, like check your ego at the door. Like ask for help. Ask for help, because there's the people you're working with are amazing, and you don't know this one particular little part. That's fine. Like they'll want to help you. It's so true.
It was such a beautiful thing, and I hope it's more common in other workplaces too. And here, like for the last minute or so here, what's your biggest advice for the company now that you've left and perhaps had some time to sort of collect your thoughts a little bit? Like what's your biggest advice for the team, the leadership team, and maybe the teams that you've been working with that you feel comfortable sharing? What's your biggest advice?
I don't know that I have any, or that I'm qualified to give any.
Of course you are, bro. You worked there for 4 years. Of course you are.
Yeah.
You're Model 3 ramp hell, bro. Come on. Give yourself some credit.
Advice for Tesla? Come on. Continue on with this, like, well, okay, that's a little bit of a selfish answer, but like continue on with this, like showing the engineering, like that's like science, engineering, technology, STEM, that stuff. Like it's being helped so much by that. Like people, I've got a 5-year-old nephew, like he's like, oh, I want to make cars. I'm like, well, hey, look at these videos of these robots making cars. And like, he didn't, like, when else are you going to get to see that if you didn't have an uncle to show him like these robots that is making the cars? But with Tesla putting the engineering out there and the videos they do, like that fly through of Berlin, like that was crazy. And
so badass.
Yeah, just keep doing that. But I realize that's a bit of a selfish answer. Like maybe they should have a little more attention on like the stuff you guys did, like, cause that was hard to, I did some of that. I don't know if you remember like Elon emails, like where like anything anybody can do to help, quarterly pushes and stuff like that. We would go down to the delivery center and help out there.
Hell yeah.
And I got to deliver a couple of cars. I got to wash cars and stuff like that.
Nice.
Detail some cars. Like that doesn't get enough attention. Like, it was kind of fun to deliver a car, and the guy's like, "Oh, so what do you do like at the dealership?" Yeah, it's not a dealership; it's a store.
Get it right, bro.
But you see that drive unit under there? I made the machine that that puts that there.
Yeah,
and the guy's mind was like blown. It was really fun to do that.
Yeah. It's so cool when you watch all these people that are such big fans of the company, like literally like their eyes light up, when you tell them I was involved in this part of the company. I think that's one of the things that perhaps was most special about my time there was that it's like how people recognized like how important the work was, but at the same time, like they were so passionate about it too. And they didn't even work there. Like they were just fans of the company or fans of the product or investors. They're like so passionate about it. And then I got to freaking be part of that mission. Like it's insane. It's insane.
So we were traveling all the time. Less so for me, but my coworkers were traveling all the time. And I was recently talking with one of them. He's like, yeah, man, it was early days. I went, I was in the airport and we'd get approached in the airport all the time. Like even after Tesla, what was I wearing? I must've been wearing something that had Tesla on it. And this was just a couple of months ago. I had a guy come up to me and I was like, oh, what do you do at Tesla? But this one particular one, my buddy is in the airport and the guy walked up to him and started the conversation like this. What serial number are you?
No way. Oh my God.
Like it was early on in the Model 3 ramp.
Yeah.
And the guy just assumed that my coworker had a Model 3 and wanted to know his serial number.
That's so crazy. Funny. Yeah. So. Yeah, I tell you, man, like last week when we did the whole Cyber Rodeo thing and we did a bar crawl and we had TeslaCon. Was it 2 weeks ago now? It would have been. It was special. It was special. I don't think I'm curious to see if any other company is going to be able to replicate this, because if they can, boy, they have a big success in front of them, because this is the formula.
What Tesla is? No.
Yeah, no.
I know.
I know.
No.
It's almost like an impossible task.
I don't know how you would, unless you go through those hard times. I don't know how you would.
Yep. I think about that all the time too. Like the amount of pain that team endured to really get to where they are. Like you're so right. Unless you go through that, you can't do this again. And that pain started in 2008. It went through almost being bankrupt, the Roadster almost failing, Model S coming out, Model 3 ramp hell, and then trying to figure out how to get to this point, short sellers behind, trying to ruin your company. There's so many hardships that the standard workforce or just the average person, I think, would be like, why the fuck should I put up with this? Like, this is insane.
You've talked about it. The FUD that
yes.
time. And you thanked the community out there. That's so true. At the time, I wasn't as into the YouTube videos, community and watching them, but I was certainly reading and yeah, just thanking them. That was important.
Yeah. Yeah. They had a huge role. They really did. A gigantic role. But anyway, we're over an hour here, man. I want to be respectful of your time. Thank you very much for jumping on and talking with me. Yeah, I mean, I had a blast. What I keep finding about these conversations, now you're technically the third one. So I spoke with Joe, who was there for a little bit, Charlie, who was there for a couple of years, you that have been there for 4 years. So it's like I'm slowly ramping up how long the workers that I talked to, the people that work at Tesla, have stayed there for. So that's been fascinating. But yeah, thank you for your time. I hope the little one feels better soon. I'm sure being a parent is I don't have any kids, but we have friends that have kids, and whenever the little ones get sick, I know it's a thing that sucks. Hard. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah. But I hope the little one.
I did want to mention one thing. That's,
please.
I don't know. It's you think of Tesla, you think California, Texas, a little bit New York, but I just wanted to highlight that there are other locations. I want that team that I was a part of to continue to do well.
Yes.
And I want to promote that team a little bit. The Midwest Automation is what it's called. There's a couple of different sites, Michigan, Illinois, Minnesota. Outside of dealerships, there are engineering opportunities. There are other opportunities to work at Tesla. They exist. They're out there. I don't know if people think to look for them, or I don't know. Maybe if you're super motivated to work at Tesla, you're going to move to California or Texas anyway. But
right.
I just wanted to say that those are out there. Look for them.
That's a great point. Yeah, absolutely. Go Tesla.com/careers. I would sound like a freaking HR division now. Tesla.com/careers. Literally, look at the different states and countries these positions are in. You blow your mind. I remember when I joined the company out of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, I was like, this is a typo. There's no way. There's no way Bethlehem, Pennsylvania has a Tesla facility. Lo and behold, lo and behold, it gave me like an insane opportunity to like become a very big piece of the puzzle that Tesla was,
like from our side alone, I know folks that went to Berlin, to several that have gone to Austin now, to SpaceX, to California, to all. The only one that I don't know anybody that's gone to Shanghai yet.
Okay. Yeah, we worked with a few folks in Shanghai, but nobody went there. But like you as well, we went to literally every other facility. We had people that went to, we have a facility in Tilburg, Netherlands that they visited, and other places as well. But yeah, just an amazing thing. Thank you for highlighting that. Thank you so much for doing that, because you're so right. Tesla has so many different buildings. It's insane, and they're everywhere. It's pretty wild. Yeah, man, thanks again. You're welcome back anytime. I feel like we could literally sit down and like talk for hours, because there's so much.
Yeah,
there.
I got some stuff here. I got some notes I didn't even cover.
I know. So we got to do a part 2 at some point. Whenever you feel comfortable, I would love to have you back for a part 2 anytime you want. And I really appreciate your time again, man. Thank you so much for spending time with me.
Yeah, no problem.
Absolutely.